Welcome or welcome back to WatchAdvisor on YouTube, where the watches are the stars. It's me speaking, Alexander, your host, and on your screen you do see a new Panerai watch. It is called Radiomir California, and it is being released here at Watches and Wonders 2023 in Geneva these days.
Don't forget to subscribe and to hit the bell to get our latest notifications.
It is the first time that Panerai uses a 45mm case to sport the so-called California Dial. You Panerai guys, you know of course that so far these dials were only seen or used in cases with a diameter of 47mm. But yeah, you sometimes have to also decrease a little bit the sizes to make these watches more attractive for potential buyers. 47mm is still a size that is very much Panerai, but looks like a small pizza on your wrist. So with 45mm you are on the safe side. It is also good to know eSteel, that's recycled steel, but I will talk more about why they are doing this and how the watch has been treated to look as it is. So we do have a case that has a diameter, I said it before, 45mm. The thickness of this so-called Radiomir California, the thickness is 14.25mm. It is exactly the same thickness as the Radiomir 8 Giorni, the 8 days. If you have not seen this video, please also check it out on our channel, WatchAdvisor. We do also present you the new 8 days watches, and it is the same case they're using here. So thickness, I said it before, is 14.25mm. It is a bit difficult to define lug to lug with such a case, but I can still give you some information. Of course, 45mm is the diameter, but if you add these lugs here, you come to 48mm. But since when you put the watch on your wrist, the lugs will not add any more size, you probably are wearing a 45 lug-to-lug distance watch on your wrist. Also quite interesting is the diameter of the dial. What do you think is the diameter of the dial, considering the fact that the diameter of the case is 45mm? It's only 35mm, the diameter, 35. So it is still a huge watch with 45mm in total, but the dial has only a diameter of 35. The piece also features a domed sapphire crystal. Thickness is 2.8mm. The fact that it has a quite thick domed sapphire crystal that features only an anti-reflective treatment underneath. So when I'm turning the watch, as you see now in the camera, you do see the reflections of the lens of our camera. Here is the hand of my cameraman, Jorge. But this is how it is if there is no anti-reflective treatment being used on the outside, so you do only have it on the inner side. But it brings some effects that are pretty nice. First of all, distortions, that's the domed sapphire crystal, and then some reflections come along. Look, when I'm turning it left, right, you see our lights, but this is how it is. You can't change. Of course, also the sapphire crystal of the case back has an anti-reflective treatment on the inner side. But the case, by the way, is waterproof 100 meters. The crown is a screw down crown. I will unscrew here. You can nicely see how the crown looks like. Conical shape, typical for that Radiomir case. It is a screw down crown. You see that there is no second indication, so I can't show you anything stopping, no hacking seconds, but you have the one position, it's the second position of the crown where you can set the time. There is no home time if you remove the hour hand in 1 hour steps. That is not available. And you do also, of course, in the first position, wind the P5000 movement that features a power reserve of 8 days. When you start winding, it's quite, you need some time to wind it. And if you are asking yourself, how do I know how much power reserve I have? There is no indication. So you were right if you have been thinking about the same already. When I started presenting the watch, no, there's no power reserve indication, neither on the back side nor, of course, on the front side, because this is the pure California dial. So yeah, you have to remember when you were winding the watch and I am winding here live, and it takes a while, yes. And there is a clear moment when you know that the watch is fully wound or the two barrels are fully wound. 8 days neat. There is a clear signal coming from the watch. Okay, stop now. Okay, you could continue turning, but then you will break the watch. But there is a clear resistance coming from the crown, and you know that's fully wound. From now on, what Panerai could do is deliver you, since there is no power reserve indication, is add a little booklet and maybe a little fountain pen or something. So whenever you wind your Radiomir, either the 8 giorni or this California, and make a note in a little booklet by saying, okay, today is in the hour, and then you would know, of course, when the watch needs to be wound again. Voila! To Panerai aficionados or paneristi, you of course know the story, but for those who are not aware about the Radiomir case, where does this legendary Radiomir case come from? It was originally built for the Italian Navy, used also by the Italian Navy until the 1970s, and it was due to its construction and especially to its dial construction. I'm not talking about the California dial, I'm talking about the sandwich construction they used to give a perfect readability of that watch in darkness. So they used a material, radioactive material, that enabled the watch to really shine quite bright in darkness. And it stayed until the 1970s at the military, but it stayed something that was not known that it existed, since it was a military secret. Only. It was in 1997, at the time being Vendôme, later Richemont, reissued those legendary 60 pieces of the Radiomir in a platinum case. It was called PAM01349, and this PAM01349 was powered by a Rolex caliber, the Rolex 618. And by selling these 60 pieces for something around 23,000 euros, Richemont or Vendôme was able to earn back the money they spent for buying the Panerai brand. So imagine, they did a one-time shot, 60 pieces, platinum case, 23,000 euros approximately, powered by the Rolex movement. They sold those 60 pieces, and yeah, they earned back the money they spent to buy that legendary brand. Incredible story behind. And now let us go to the dial, and let me tell you some stories about this so-called California dial. What is a California dial? It is a dial that is inspired by a Panerai reference called 3646. It is called California dial, but it should be, to be correct, called error-proof radium dial with error-proof radium hands, because this particular dial was invented to clearly distinguish up and down. So it was clear, due to the fact that you had different printings on the dial, where was up and where was down, and there was no possibility to mislead any readings or that you did any wrong readings. How is it characterized? It is characterized by alternating Roman and Arabic numerals, bar indexes, and a minute track. The hours 10, 11, 1, and 2 are marked with Roman numerals, while those for hours 4, 5, 7, and 8 are marked with Arabic numerals, resulting in a dial where every half is distinguished by the two different types numerals. You can easily distinguish where it's up and down. And this is also why these dials in the very early days were called error-proof radium dials. They also featured an error-proof radium hand. I know you paneristi have been discussing this, writing a lot about where do these dials come from and why are they called California dials. So first of all, the dials were used in the early days also by Rolex. There is a patent Rolex filed in 1941. It was published in 1942, and in the early days in the 1940s, Rolex used these dials for their bubble back watches. Why did Rolex use them or invent them or patent them? Yeah, they wanted to have an error-proof dial, clearly indicating where is up and down, where is 12, where is 6. You couldn't do any error by reading it. And there was a guy in California who started restoring these dials, these bubble bag watches with these dials, and it is then, as so often in the watch industry, that some guy called it California dial. Oh. Everything has to get a nickname in this industry. Every watch has to have a nickname, and it is, I hate it, but okay, it is the California Dial, you know it under the name, but it was in the early days called a error-proof radium dial, and you can go a little bit into the history and you will find catalog pictures of Rolex promoting the word error-proof. And I think we should stay with error-proof because I very much like the fact error-proof in California. Just because some guy in California did some restorations of these dials and suddenly they all call them California. How boring is this? And all the discussion, how did such a dial come into a Panerai watch? It's not part of this video. There is lots of discussions anyway out there concerning how these dials got in there. But as you already heard in the video, Panerai watches used Rolex movements, and most likely also Rolex delivered such dials to Panerai to use them in military watches, because if someone needs error-proof reading, it's the military probably. If we turn around the watch and we make a wrong reading, okay, the problems might not be as big as probably if you do have a military operation going on where someone reads the wrong time. The case looks like a stone-washed jean, if you want to put it that way. Yeah, it got a seasoned look. This is a special treatment they do on these eSteel watches. Before I tell you how they do that, eSteel is recycled steel. Last year, if you have been following what we do here on WatchAdvisor, we have been interviewing Jean-Marc Pontreuil, and he clearly stated that in the future, Panerai will use more and more eSteel, recycled steel. Where does the steel come from? It comes from the industry here in Switzerland, and most parts of the recycled steel come from the watch industry. So it is likely possible that parts of this Radiomir were recycled from the manufacturing of cases for another Richemont brand. Could be IWC, could be Jaeger-LeCoultre or Jaeger-LeCoultre, but could also be other brands. So it is a little bit of everything or nothing. You don't know what kind of steel is in the background. But the quality, and this is the most essential part, the quality of this recycled steel is identical to new 316 L steel. So there's no difference. You're not buying a used watch or something, a used case. It is recycled. That's a big difference. 95% are recycled and 5% are additives that are being mixed in, that the steel looks as it looks. And the good thing is there is a PVD treatment done, physical vapor deposition treatment, by hand. And each of these cases will look different. There's not a single one identical to the other one. So due to that manually, individually done treatment to all these cases, they all look different. And then when you wear the watch, additionally, you add some scratches, some patina will develop on your watch, and then you will have your personal Panerai, your personal Radiomir, your personal Panerai Radiomir California. It will be your watch, and it could be distinguished from any other that Panerai will ever manufacture. This is how they do it with eSteel. It's also marked eSteel, and you will have to get used to this, that Panerai will use more and more eSteel. It is more eco-friendly, and it shows that Panerai is trying to be eco-friendly and sustainable. It is a good move in my humble opinion, and since the quality will not differ, it is the same quality. It is also funny probably to think about when you are wearing your watch on a daily basis, what other parts could be part of your watch. Maybe some, I said, IWC or whatsoever, could also be part here. Or other Swiss industries that are manufacturing steel, they also could be part of that Radiomir you see actually on your screen. Two barrels power the watch. Power reserve, I said it before, is 8 days. What you see here is a balance wheel oscillating in a 21,600 semi-oscillations or 3 Hertz. Here's the balance wheel. It is the P5000 movement as you know it from Panerai. If you have been asking yourself if that strap is tapering, in fact it does. So we do have 27 here. It tapers down to 22 millimeters in the clasp, so 27 to 22 millimeters. This is a very nice brown strap manufactured in Italy, and it does also feature The name of the founder of Panerai, Giovanni Panerai e Figlio, means and son. And if you turn it around, then you will see, first of all, made in Italy, and also, that's new on these straps, you do also have a Panerai seal, original OEM Panerai strap. Panerai being engraved on it, pin buckle, eSteel treated, PVD treated, and also each of these buckles looks different, of course. The first time, I want to repeat that once again, the first time that Panerai shows such a California dial or error-proof radium dial and error-proof radium hands dial, also called California, in a 45mm case. The watch on your screen is not limited, there's none. I still expect that this watch will be pretty difficult to get because they are going to limit the distribution quite a bit. And the watch, first of all, is only available through Panerai boutiques, so an authorized dealer will not be able to sell you this watch. You have to go to a Panerai boutique. I think you will have to be a little bit lucky to get one of those. The watch will be sold for 12,500 euro, including 19% VAT in Germany. So if you want a net price, you have to deduct these 19% from the price, then you get a net price. But 12,500 is the price, and it is not limited, but I want to repeat that again, only available through a Panerai boutique and not through an authorized dealer. He will not be able to sell you the watch. Thank you very much for joining us. Keen to read your comments on the watch. You like it, don't like it, etc., etc. What do you think? Stay tuned on WatchAdvisor on YouTube. There's much more to come during Watches and Wonders. Of course, we're just starting here. And and do recommend our channel to all watch aficionados. Bye-bye from Geneva.